If you're rated 600 or below and you can't seem to get past that level, in this video I'm going to explain exactly what kind of mistakes players that are rated 600 make and show you specifically how you can fix those so you can get to 700, 800, 900, and beyond. Alright, so if your rating looks like this chart right here, where you hit the 600 level and then you kind of bounce back down, you hit the 600 level, you bounce back down, you can't seem to get past it, I'm going to show you what to do. Okay, so to figure out what kind of mistakes 600 rated players made, I went and looked at 100 different games from people at that level, and I just kind of tried to pay attention to what kind of things they were doing wrong and specifically what was costing them the game. I wrote down this column here, crucial mistakes. And so you see there's not protecting the king, there's blundering. And really, if you look at all 100 of these games, they all fell into those two categories. 84% is from blundering and 16% is from not protecting the king. So let me explain first, what do I mean by not protecting the king? And then I'm going to go back and talk about blundering because that was by far the most common reason. All right, so as far as not protecting the king, there was two things that I saw. Number one, a couple of people fell for the 4-move checkmate. If you're not aware, it happens on the f7 or the f2 square, like this. Okay, 4 moves, the game is over because black failed to defend the f7 square, which is one of the weakest spots on the board. It can also happen against you if you're white. Same kind of deal. If you don't pay attention and you don't notice, let's say I go here, and then I land f3, game's over, right? I didn't see that black was lining up on that f2 square. So I'm going to give you 2 tips on how to defend your king better. Okay, number 1, always watch out for the f2 right here and the f7 squares. Okay, if you're black, you watch out for f7. If you're white, you watch out for f2. That's where you can get checkmated the fastest. And even as the game progresses, if you're not careful, it's just a very weak spot because it's only defended by the king. So as an example, e4, e5, as soon as I play bishop f4, black should be thinking, okay, I gotta pay attention to this f7 square. Because if the queen comes out later, guess what? It's gonna be a quick game, right? So one example would be, if black plays knight f6, he's preventing that queen move right away. And also, if I go to queen to f3, the knight's blocking it. So that's a preventative move right away where he's paying attention to that f7 square. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, an easy way to protect your king is to castle before move 10. Okay, castle before move 10 and leave these 3 pawns as a wall in front of your king. So as an example, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5. What do you think my next move is going to be? That's right, I'm going to castle. And now my king has this wall of pawns, and it's kind of tucked away on the side of the board. It's much safer than in the center, especially because usually you should be moving these center pawns forward, which means the center is going to be getting open. You don't want your king to be there. And as an added bonus, when you castle, the rook defends that f2 square, so it's not as weak anymore. Okay, so those are the 2 tips for not protecting your king. You want to watch out for f2 and f7, and try to castle before move 10. All right, now I want to go back and talk about blundering. As you can see, 84% of the games were determined by blundering. Now, I actually Googled the definition of a blunder, and it's a stupid or careless mistake, which is not bad, but I want to be a little bit more specific so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, when I'm talking about a blunder, I'm talking specifically about a 2-point or greater mistake. Now, I did a previous video where I talked about the value of chess pieces. I'll link that down below, but in case you don't want to watch that, here's the summary. Okay, queens are 9 points, rooks are 5, knights and bishops are 3, and pawns are 1. Those are how many points each piece is worth. And when you're playing the game, you don't want to ever lose more than 2 points in a single turn. Okay, if you do, 2 points or more, and I would consider that a blunder. So let's look at some examples of how this can happen. I play e4, my opponent plays a6, and I think to myself, oh, I can take the pawn with my bishop. Let me do that. What's going to happen? He's going to take me, and I only got 1 point, the pawn, but I lost 3 points, the bishop. So I lost 2 points. So that would be considered a blunder, right? Losing 2 points or more. Okay, that's a blunder. Let's look at another example. I play d3, my opponent plays h5, knight here. He brings his rook up, and I don't see that I can take the rook, and I do something like moving my knight. So not taking the rook was a blunder because I could have gotten 5 points and I only would have lost 3. So that was a blunder. And so you can see blunders can be when you give up pieces, like when I gave up my bishop when I shouldn't have. It could also be when you don't notice that you can take pieces that are going to give you a 2-point or more advantage. So if you want to get past 600, what do you have to do? You have to stop blundering. Now, some people are probably thinking, well, that sounds great in theory, but how do I actually stop blundering when I'm in the middle of a game playing? And I'm going to give you a tip, something that a lot of really strong chess players do, and I think most beginners don't do this. So here's the tip. When you're playing your chess game, I want you to pay attention to what changed. Now, what do I mean by this? So at the start of a chess game, all of my pieces are totally safe. All of my opponent's pieces are totally safe. I can't take any of his. He can't take any of mine. Everybody's fine, right? But as we make moves, things change. So by even just playing one move, all of a sudden now my pawn is controlling these 2 squares. My bishop is controlling all of these squares. My queen is controlling all of these squares, right? One move changed that. So every time a move is made, you don't need to look at every single piece and try to think through everything that's going on the whole board. You need to focus on what changed. For example, c5. What changed about the position after this move? Well, you should see that, okay, the pawn is controlling those squares. The queen is controlling those squares. That's what changed. That's what I need to pay attention to, right? I'm going to move my bishop here. What should black be thinking changed about the position? The bishop is now attacking the f7 square, which, by the way, we know is a weak spot, right? So I'm going to give you one more example. Let's say black plays knight to c6. I notice that these squares are attacked, okay? I'm going to play queen h5. Now, when I play queen h5, what should black be thinking about? What changed about the position from this move? Well, actually, he should see this, and this, and this. And very important is that f7 square is being attacked, right? So he should be able to see that the checkmate is coming. What can I do to prevent it? Okay, one move would be e6. It blocks the bishop. It also lets out the bishop to defend this pawn, right? So that's a really good move. I see a lot of beginning players, they try to come up with these plans where they're like, I'm going to move my knight here and here and here and take this and take his queen and go here and here and get him in check. All right, that's their plan. Well, there's a lot of things that are going to change by the time you move your knight 10 times. All you need to really be focusing about is what changed about the position each move. And I promise you, if you do that and you do that well, you're going to make less and less blunders, and you're going to get past 600 in no time. It is really not that hard to get past 600 once you stop making so many blunders. All right, now what I want to do is go pull up a random example, just a game that I haven't looked up ahead of time, and just to see if we notice these blunders as we look at the game. All right, so I'm going to go do a search here, and I'm going to put in rating from 600 to 700, and we'll do rapid so it's not too fast. I'm going to click search. I'm going to pick a random 600 rated player. Let's go this guy, 608, who lost the game. Okay, so the 600 rated player is white, so I'm going to flip the board so we can view it from this guy's perspective. Okay, all right, so let's look at this game and let's see. I'm going to just go until I get to the first blunder and see if it could have been avoided. So, developing some moves. Okay, that's losing a pawn, but it's not quite a blunder. Okay, right here. So, white moved his bishop to d5, and his opponent captured it with his knight. Now, as soon as this opponent did this, you should be asking, well, what changed about the position? Well, for one, I just lost a piece, right? My bishop just disappeared. I just lost 3 points. But also, now the knight is in a spot that is being attacked, right? Something changed about the position. So, I don't know what this guy was thinking about. Maybe he was thinking about, I want to get my king to safety, I want to get my rook involved, whatever he might be thinking about, but he wasn't thinking about what changed about the position. See, if he paid attention to this move, he probably would have saw this, right? That's the only thing that he really needed to be thinking about, right? The knight was there, now the knight is here. What changed? Oh, my pawn. He probably would have saw that. Right? So that's the one tip that I have on how to avoid blundering. Just try to focus on what changed about the position, and you're going to notice rapid improvement. You're going to be on your way to 1,000 in no time. Follow the tips that I showed you in this video, and I have no doubt that you will get past 600 in no time. Hey, if you enjoyed that video, be on the lookout for my next videos where I'm going to go through 800 rated, 1000 rated, 1200, 1400, all the way up to 2000 rated players and see what kind of mistakes they're making and how you can get past each level. As always, thanks so much for watching and take care.